So I think in somewhere in there, even though it isn't recorded in the Bible, Daniel probably corrected him and saying, it ain't me, don't worship me. Because didn't the angels even tell John in Revelation, don't bow down, worship me. You worship God and God only because we worship God. You got to be very careful about that. Don't let your ego get the best of you. I believe he corrected him. Well, I don't know that. But he says of a truth, what he's saying is your God is a God of gods, which means he's supreme. He has the highest authority and the highest ability. Nobody, all the false gods that them pagan prophets, or not prophets, but them pagan wise men, sought for the instruction and for the answers couldn't deliver. Only Daniel's God could deliver. So he's saying your God is a God of gods. He has authority. He knows things nobody else does. He's supreme God, the Lord of kings, and all other gods are beneath him and subject to his control. Now, he didn't completely get rid of the false gods that he'd worshipped all of his life, but at least he recognized that as far as his interpretation of gods was concerned, Daniel's God was above all the other gods. But you and I know that our God is the only God. Everything else is man-made, up in their mind. He's also a revealer of secrets. Everybody else failed except God. God revealed the secret, and it was a secret. The dream was secret, and the interpretation was secret. He said, seeing that they could reveal this secret, God told Daniel, the wise men and the enchantments and the false gods failed to reveal this secret. I'm going to tell you something. God has his way of revealing just how false the devil and the wicked really are. At some point in time, the truth always comes through. It looks like the devil might be winning over America, but I tell you, God's still running things. Verse 48. And the king made Daniel a great man, and gave him many great gifts, made him ruler over the whole province of Babylon, and the chief of the governors over all the wise men of Babylon. Well, he did three things in that verse. Number one, he gave him many rich gifts. Second thing he did, he made him governor over an entire province of Babylon. Now, I'm going to have a summation here just in a minute, and I want to prove something. Third thing he did, he made him chief. That means he was president over the wise men. Now, I don't know about you, but that's about to put me on shouting ground. If God could do one thing better than eliminating the false prophets, I keep calling them false prophets, but it's the false wise men that were using enchantments and astrology and whatever their means was. If God wasn't going to do away, I think it was a greater insult to keep them around, but let it be known from the king of Babylon that Daniel's God was great. He never failed, but they fail every time. So they're around where Daniel can insult them. And the second thing is, Daniel's their boss. They got to listen to him. They pretty much bow to his authority. Is that not God having the last laugh on this stuff? He let them fail miserably and openly. Then put Daniel and told them, and told them, Daniel's God interpreted what you couldn't do in your false gods. Now, that's the lesson. Here's the lesson. I know we have a lot of preachers, and I've probably been one of them over the years, but here's where I stand on something now. We've been told over the bunch of years, you need to keep separate if you're a Christian from politics and from government service and from serving this way and working with that one and working at this place. And I get all that, and there's still a truth that I stand with that. But here's what I'm telling you. Daniel showed us one of the clearest cut messages and examples I've ever seen in my life. You can be a Christian and serve in politics and serve on a board and serve in a committee and serve a secular job anywhere in the world and keep your convictions and your testimony intact. Here's what it is. It's better that you be a good, solid Christian and be an example to the secular world than crossing over and becoming secular in order to fit in to have that position. Does it make sense? Daniel never questioned his God, his integrity, his testimony was intact. He would go to the fiery furnace. He didn't care. He would bow. He wouldn't bow to the false gods, no matter what they did to him. He was an example, no matter what he did, where he was at, what he was going through, that his God was the only God he'd ever serve or bow to. Don't you think that's a greater example? Don't you think we need more good, solid, born-again Christians in government? I'm talking about city, county, state, and federal government. God knows we could use a whole bunch of all that. I'm not going to say that there's crookedness in politics. My God, I've said it 1,000 times. So the lesson is a Christian can serve God anywhere God chooses to put him. And you ain't got to worry about it. I won't do it, but I had a preacher friend that I know would go to the beer joints and preach to them. Never drunk a beer, never failed, never done anything, but he would go in a bar and just start talking Jesus and with the Bible. Now, did he get crucified for that? Oh boy, howdy, did he ever? But I noticed something. If the drunks won't come to church, why don't the church go to the drunks? And he had one of the best attitudes ever. I don't care what anybody else thinks. God said for me to do it. Now, granted, all the Baptist churches closed their doors to this fella, but he did it without shame. And he did have people saved. All right, then. A Christian can serve in a secular government or company. He can serve on a board, a committee, without compromising his Christian convictions, his standards, or the Bible. Notice what he says now. God controlled through Daniel. He controlled the sorcerers. He controlled the astrologers, the magicians, the false worship in Babylon. You had a man that was known as a president, right, the third party right underneath the king being the first, in Babylon that was a good, solid God believer in God. I think that's pretty good, don't you? All right, verse 49. We'll call chapter 2 done. Then Daniel requested of the king, he set Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego over the affairs of the province of Babylon, but Daniel sat in the gate of the king. Notice something with me. Daniel immediately asked for a favor from the king, and he was in a whole lot better position to get it answered now, wasn't he? What about my three buddies? They helped me pray about this. Can we put them in a nice position to serve? King said, absolutely. They promoted. They shared Daniel's anxieties. They helped him with the prayer so that they could be trusted and they could do much good and prevent much evil. When the Bible says that he sat in the gate of the king, he is the chief officer in the palace. He was the king's closest confidant. You do realize, like the President of the United States has a multitude of people that he listens to for advice and instruction. One person can't know it all. And he has people who are experts in different things here in this United States, and they instruct him on the best way to go and the best policies and the best answers for the problems and solutions. And so this is what Daniel's doing. He's the confidant and counselor of the king, but his influence wasn't just as Prince of Babylon. His influence was the king, and if he had influence over the king, he had influence over the entire kingdom. Because everything came back and went through the king, Nebuchadnezzar. Yellow. That's all right. Anybody got any questions on chapter 2? We got time left. You want to start up on chapter 3? I thought about that, and one thing is you get information, but until it actually happens, you don't pretty much worry about it. It hadn't. It hadn't. Because up to that, he's the most powerful man in the world. Every king, every other nation bows to him. So in his mind, he never could accept the fact of it is that it was going to be taken from him, that there was anybody more powerful than him. But you understand the thing about it, the bigger stuff that you got authority over, the more stuff you got to watch. And the more stuff you got to watch, the more, because you can't watch everything all the time, more chances of somebody doing something behind your back. And the other thing about kings are probably the most arrogant people on the face of the earth. Look at verse 1, if you would. Nebuchadnezzar, the king, made an image of gold whose height was 80 cubits and the breadth thereof 6 cubits. He set it up on the plain of Dura in the province of Babylon. Let me ask you a question. Did he not say that Daniel's God was the greatest God and the God of kings and the God of gods? And now he's building an image. I'm going to ask y'all a question. What was the image? It's 90 feet high, 9 feet wide. But what was the image of? Now the Bible don't tell us. I just want to know what you think it is. That's one. But the Bible doesn't say that. Scott said he thought it would be an image of himself. I say he's right. And here's why I'm going to tell you why I think it's right. Number one, he's a king. Number two, he's got an ego as big as Babylon. Number three, he still thinks he's a god among gods. Number four, when you see image in the Bible, it's always a pattern after somebody sacred, religious, or prominent. Did Jesus not say, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father? Is that not him being an image of the Father? Did God not make the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, did they not make Adam after God's image and likeness? So it just stands to reason that an image would be made after Nebuchadnezzar himself, right? And he had the best goldsmiths and workers on the planet. 3 score cubits is 90 feet tall. Breadth is 6 cubits, 9 feet. He set it up in the plain of Dura. So the king erected an image about a 7 or 8 story building. It's about 9 feet wide. Bible does not say what form it was. I'm beginning to think that everybody's right that it was an image of the king, because in the image that Daniel described to the king, did he not say that the king was a head of gold? Did he not say that even God says that when it comes to kings, you, sir, are King of kings? There's no greater king than you. There's no greater kingdom than Babylon. So I'm thinking Nebuchadnezzar just become inspired that we can't have a proper kingdom unless we got an image. Then he went a deep further, didn't he? He wanted everybody to bow to it. That boy never learned. So I believe because of Daniel's interpretation, could this be the image of Baal? I don't think it is, because I think Daniel did get through to the king about the false gods that he believed in, because they failed him every time. But I believe it was about the king. I believe it was Nebuchadnezzar as his dream. I think whatever his dream was stuck with him when Daniel told him what it was, and he built that image. I don't think it was solid gold. I don't think it could come up with that much gold, but it was most likely gold-plated. Look at verse number 2. Then Nebuchadnezzar the king sent to gather together the princes, the governors, and the captains, and the judges, and the treasurers, and the counselors, the sheriffs, and all the rulers of the provinces to come to the dedication of the image which the Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up. There's a whole lot of titles in there, ain't there? You ever wondered what they actually meant in Babylon? Let's take a look at it. Princes, those were his private counselors. They all had access to the presence of the king. The governors were considered his lieutenants or officers. They oversaw a particular province throughout the empire. Judges, either a chief or a great judge, these were nobles who were assistants to the king in maintaining the laws of the state, because they had laws and they had rules. So they interpreted them and they enforced them. Treasurers, those are the ones who were over the mint or the making of their currency or their treasures. Pretty much what we got now. Counselors, those were men whose job it was to explain the law of Babylon and to the king and the king's rules. Sheriffs. I can't say the word sheriff without thinking of those kids. He was an icon in this county, was he not? He was a sheriff of all sheriffs. And he was that. He reminded me of the Beaufort Pastor sheriffs, wasn't he? He was the man. He run this county. And I did get to meet him with my hands up. Yeah. We won't talk about that. Sheriffs or lawyers or local judges. All the rulers. Notice he says all the rulers. That's every government employee. They were having a dedication. You know what a dedication actually is? The definition of it is the act of setting apart a person, a place, or an object for sacred purpose. So you understand this image to be worshipped, God ain't having it. Verse number 3. Then the princes, the governors, and the captains, the judges, the treasurers, and the counselors, the sheriffs, and all the rulers of the provinces were gathered together under the dedication of the image that Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up. They stood before the image that Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Got all the dignitaries and the heads of state. All the provinces are there. And they all gathered together in front of the image. It's like when the governor or the president dedicates something and the House shows up and the senators show up and then governors fly. You know, it's just something very important they want to dedicate. And this right now in the king's mind was the most important thing in all of Babylon. It's an image, I believe, with him. And so he wanted everybody. And the reason he called for all the dignitaries was because whatever was said or done or instructed right there, they were to carry that same set of instructions to all their provinces, so that any time somebody that wasn't from the city of Babylon came to the city of Babylon, they would know what to do when they saw the image. Verse 4. Then a herald cried aloud to you, it is commanded, O people, nations, and languages. Herald means he was a messenger. He announced important news or messages on behalf of the king or some other authority. That means he cried aloud with a loud voice. He commanded, ordered the required obedience. That was as strict of a law that you could ever have, was a direct commandment from the king. O people, nations, and languages. You do understand in an empire that it's more than just the Chaldeans as part of that. The empire was made up of every language, every nation on the earth. It was under the authority of Nebuchadnezzar and the empire of Babylon, but there were other nations, other languages. And he was in authority over all of them, and he wanted everybody to know in their own language what the instruction or the commandment was. So everybody would know what to do when they come to Babylon. So it was made up of different nations, peoples, and languages, and he was saying there's no exception, including the Hebrews. You see, this is where it begins to cut deep with Daniel and them boys and some of them that are not going to compromise. They'll only worship and bow to their God of heaven. They will not worship nor bow to a pagan statue. Verse 5. That at what time you hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, dulcimer, and all kinds of music, you fall down and worship the golden image that Nebuchadnezzar the king hath set up. The cornet is simply a horn. The sackbut is a type of a harp. The psaltery is just simply a stringed instrument without any type of identity to it. The psaltery, or the dulcimer, is a type of a bagpipe. It's not the little thing you play with a turkey feather we're used to. All kinds of music. You fall down, worship the golden image that Nebuchadnezzar set up. All kinds of music. What he had was every type of music instrument available in a complete orchestra. Their top musicians, when they began to play whatever they played, people would have fallen down into worship. No matter wherever the song played, when it did, they must fall down, and that means to lay prostrate on the ground and worship the image. Did God not take care of that with the first original 10 Commandments? False idols, graven image. Verse 6. And whoso falleth not down and worshipeth shall the same hour be cast into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. Notice there's no exemptions. That was to include Daniel, the 3 Hebrew boys, a fiery furnace, and anybody. Falleth down means the king and all his dignitaries that had any authority in the kingdom. When the music started playing and they looked across the crowd, they need to see you in a worship position, a prayerful position. Not standing up, not with your hands in your pockets, but down worshiping. And if you wasn't, you're going to get reported and your head cut off. Notice that all present who did not lay down to worship, the same hour, we find a division of time into hours, not seasons and days. Isn't that something? He's not talking about a season. He's saying in an hour, which means there's a short time frame that you would be dealt with if you didn't bow down before his image. And so he gives a time frame. Cast into the midst of burning fiery furnace. Notice this, you can get a fiery furnace. You can get a furnace, and we all know furnaces have a type of fire, whether it be gas, wood, coal, or whatever. But now there's a difference in a fiery furnace and a furnace with fire in it. Do you believe there's a difference between a lion's den and a den of lions? Den of lions means they're home. Lion's den means that a lion has lived there. And what the king is trying to say, I'm putting a fire in that thing, and I'll throw you in it. What he was saying is this. Cast means to just throw. I want to tell you something Babylon didn't have, freedom of religion. We're losing it in this country, are we not? I don't understand how you can pray publicly in the name of any God except the Lord Jesus Christ. That's the one that they throw a fit about. It means a hot raging fire. And that hot raging fire in a furnace meant two things. It meant punishment or sacrifice. cast into a burning fire. A public display of recognition and submission to his absolute authority in his kingdom. I'm going to ask you a general question. You ain't been too great tonight about answering none of them, but I am a hopeful, and I believe this might be the time. Have we ever in this country that you can know of in the past 20 years, have we ever had a time where there was absolute government rule and authority that we had to bow to? Absolute. No exceptions. Absolute. We got one yes and some no's. Oh, dear. Let's go back for a refresher course, might we? Do you all remember COVID-19? Was it not an absolute government authority law? Don't go to church. Would they not put you in jail or threaten you with jail if you did? Did they not say you couldn't even gather in your own home for Bible study? Yes. Did they not do like Pharaoh? If you see anybody gathered in a house at any time for Thanksgiving, Christmas, or Bible worship, call the police. We'll go take care of it. Yes, that in America. It ain't been that long ago. How quickly we forget. That was a trial run so that the government could control the population and could control the church. Once you get rid of faith, America has nothing else that they'll fight for. Yes, we have been under the Democrats, thank you, left wing. I just don't know how much I can actually get away with before they kick me off of there. But it's coming. Cool thing about it is I don't have to be on that camera to preach. I can preach anywhere. All right then. Democrats. Their laws, their rules came with consequences. Biden Democrats. Church, home, school. Fauci. Yeah, that'll make you throw up in your mouth, won't it? Government. Both of these examples show the severity of government overreach. You shut down the church, but Walmart stays open. You shut down the church, but the beer joints are open. Evidently, alcohol cures everything. And I reckon that was just another prescription, you know. Well, never mind. Examples of the severity of government. Oh, those who refused, number one, lost jobs, did they not? Did anybody ever give them their job back? We lost military, we lost police, we lost firefighters, we lost professors, we lost teachers. We lost people who loved what they did and loved showing up because they wouldn't take the shot. Now, people lost their jobs. You don't even have to go home. You can go to school, you can go to work, you can go anywhere with the COVID. Nobody cares no more. Did they get their jobs back with back pay? No, they did not. Does it sound like I'm ranting and raving a little bit? I mean to. Government overreach. They lost jobs. People were put in jail. Over 200-something pastors were put in jail for this. Did you know that? They were fined and harassed. Different states, different parts of the states, governors would send out the police and the highway patrol to every church that met on Sunday and get tag numbers. Did you know that? Y'all will have to get off the soap operas and get on a little bit of news every once in a while. I can't be the only news source. But can we agree on this? And I promise I'll move on. Because it's stuck right about here. That was an example of government overreach. Was it not? It's okay, shake your head. They can't tell who you are from behind. It's okay. There you go. My buddy Elvis over here. Keeping it incognito. Look at verse number 7. I'll do one more. Therefore, at that time, when all the people heard the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, and all kinds of music, all the people, the nations, the languages fell down and worshipped the golden image that Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up. Man, does it not seem like the king forgot awful quick about who the real God was? Does it not take when God does? Here's humanity. It's in the church. It's in the secular world. It's just everywhere. People reach out and grab that nail-scarred hand when they're in need of something. The very second God answers that need, gets you out of whatever pickle, heals whatever you've got, fixes whatever's wrong. If He didn't get your heart fixed in the process, you just let go and go right back to your ways. Yes. And I think the Bible described it pretty good. A dog back to his vomit and a hog back to his mud. Slop. But anyway, I'm going to move on. All the people that were present when the music started playing were to immediately fall down and worship the statue. Now, is that not public worship? Have in the scriptures so far of the book of Daniel, have we read anywhere that you were allowed to fall down at any time, your discretion, and pray to the God of your choice? Bit one-sided. It's called government religion, or they call it state religion. Russia has state religion. China has state religion. Iran, Iraq. They kill you if you don't worship the state god. And now they're down to fall down and worship the statue. Does that not sound familiar in Revelation? Who tells you that you need to worship the image? Antichrist. Now you got Nebuchadnezzar. You understand the first empire that the Bible speaks about is Babylon. You worship an image. And the last world kingdom that exists in the world is under the Antichrist, which is the revived Roman Empire. Worship an image. You want to know what the closest thing to America that we have? We had a very popular sports or music figure die. They build shrines. I've seen it. They just fall down like the world's coming to an end. So do you not think to an extent that some in America tend to worship people or objects? This way, all the nations would recognize the political and the religious authority of King Nebuchadnezzar. Is this possible? And I want to ask this in the kindest way I know how. Is it not possible that you have people around the world and in America that from whatever their own personal reasons is, they really think everybody but them in their close-knit group is beneath them and should worship them in some manner? The rich, the people who constantly have people waiting on them and catering to them. But this right here is what God is saying. Worship. You can't worship anybody but holy God. Oh, I don't think I got time, but let's look at verse 8, and if I need to pick it back up next week, I will. Wherefore at that time certain Chaldeans, which was the most of the nationality there, came near and accused the Jews. Now, Jews are not the only race and nation of people in Babylon. They take all of them, but now they're just accusing just the Jews. Do you ever notice how everybody picks on the Jewish people? You ever notice you can have two countries at it? And if Israel's one of those countries, they can be just defending themselves, but they're the one that gets attacked in the media. According to verse 12, they were talking about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So far, Daniel wasn't part of that Jews. I don't understand why, but Daniel just wasn't. They just zeroed in. It might be because he was third in command of the king. They were afraid to touch him. But Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they were going after them because they didn't want the Jews. All these other nations always felt that the Jews were beneath them, that they were lesser than they were. And so they've always targeted Jews, God's people. Satan, let me just say it this way, Satan will always have somebody out here targeting the Jews. And let me ask you this question. I'm trying my best to get away from it, but I can't. How can America, with the president that we've got now, I understood the other guy, but it's the one we got now, how can you let people protest and want to kill all the Jews in America and lift up Hamas and all that other junk and America on American soil and burn our flag and protest? How could something like that go on? All right, I think I got it out. Satan will always have somebody ready to draw attention to God's people who are willing to stand against things that are wrong and not bow to idolatry. Do you understand one of the most dangerous things you can do, even in this country here as a born-again Christian, is make a public stand against anything? You'll be targeted, will you not? You'll be talked about. You'll be excluded from things. But it's still the right thing to do, is it not? Anybody got anything on your mind before we dismiss tonight? All right, then. They had the whole country. They had taken them hostage out of the southern kingdom of Judah. I don't think they did the northern kingdom, but what Daniel tells us is everybody from the southern kingdom, which is bigger than the northern kingdom, they got everybody out of there and everybody out of Jerusalem. And so now they're in Babylon. That's all they wanted them for. You remember how we started out the study? They wanted to take the brightest from every nation that they were holding as slaves and hostages. And it didn't matter if they were Jews or what, then they just wanted the brightest so that they could convert them into Chaldeans and Babylonians. Any other questions? All right. I'll just have to dismiss you tonight. I'm too tired to do that other thing. Y'all can go. You can sit here. We're done.